Let's move to the new topic, that is alternative conceptions of development. Students, you can have a question on this topic also, like write a short note on alternative conception of development or discuss the alternative conception of development. Okay. So the strategies of development adopted in the most countries have been top down. That is, the selection of development priorities, strategies, and the actual implementation of projects were all generally decided by the higher levels of the political leadership. There was often little consultation with the people whose lives would be the most immediately affected by development projects. Neither was people's experience and their knowledge acquired over centuries utilized, nor were their interests taken into account. Let's take the example of some issues. Issues of rights, equality, freedom, justice, and democracy have all been raised in the process. What we have discussed, limitations, there were two of democratic nations as of dictatorial ones. Development in this way becomes a process designed and implemented by the ruling sections in the country, who have too generally been the main beneficiaries of most of the development projects. The discussed point clearly indicating that there is a dire need to think of alternative ways of understanding and pursuing development which are equitable and sustainable. Fine. Now we will move to the next topic, that is what is modernization. Okay. If development is viewed as a process of meaning, thereby change with the growth, it is a concept related very closely to modernization. I'm again telling you, if development is viewed as a process meaning thereby change with the growth, it is a concept related very closely to modernization. It is therefore not surprising that development and modernization are more or less interchangeable. We are having some views of different writers. Daniel Lerner, he defines the term modernization as a systematic process involving complementary changes in the demographic, economic, political, communication and cultural sectors of society. We are having other view also, that is Rostow and Watt. He said that modernization involves a marked increase in geographic and social mobility, a spread of secular, scientific and technical education, a transition from ascribed to achieved status, an increase in the material standards of living, and many related and subsidiary phenomena. Actually, the modernization, therefore, is an onward phenomena, a forward movement, or what Joseph and Nancy Gebra hold, a movement towards an economic diversification within an advanced industrial technology, heightened social mobility, and the movement towards impersonal and relational social relationships. Fine. So different writers have given their views about modernization. Actually, modernization is a goal to be achieved the countries of Asia, Africa and Latin America, for they are not modern. Development in the context of these countries means development in all fields of life. It is a development towards modernization. Fine. So we are again discussing that modernization is a goal to be achieved the countries of Asia, Africa and Latin America, for they are not modern. Development in the context of these countries means development in all fields of life. It is a development towards the modernization. Fine. So we have covered the topic modernization now. Now let's move to the next topic, that what type of strategies we should follow for the sustaining development. It's a very important topic, that what type of strategies we should follow for the sustaining development. So first we are having in this regard population challenge and strategy. Population growth increases the demand for the goods and services, we know that, and if practices remain unchanged, it implies increased environmental damage. The world's population is growing at about 1.7% annually, almost an addition of 100 million a year. This rapid population growth, mutually reinforcing effects of the poverty and environmental decay. Yet environmental degradation can also increase population growth. So population control requires solid programs on four fronts, like access to family planning services must be increased, educational and employment opportunities especially for women must expand, income of poor household must rise, and child mortality must decline. Choice about family planning and educational policies today will determine world population levels and the consequent pressures on the environment in the next century. Fine. So this was all about the population challenge. Next we are having the strategy, that is water and sanitation actually. The challenge for water supply and sanitation will be to meet the backing of demand while meeting the needs of growing population. At present, one-third of the world's population has inadequate sanitation and 1 billion people lack safe water. Making safe drinking water available to everyone in the next generation will require an additional service for 3.7 billion people living in the urban areas and for 1.2 billion people in rural areas. For sanitation, the problem is even serious. The number of urban dwellers currently served is the little more than 1 billion. So, what should we do? Managing water resource better. Yes, increase in population, especially in urban areas in the next 20 years will place severe strains on the surface or groundwater supplies and will call for much more efficient allocation within the river basin. Investing in sanitation. We should invest in the sanitation also. In the case of sanitation, public investment is about 0.5% of GDP. Much investment have been for sewage collection than on its treatment. For example, today only 2 to 5% of sewage in India is treated. Third, we can discuss about improving institutional arrangements. Evidence suggests that institutional failure is the main cause of poor performance of water and sanitation utilizes. Two conditions for better performance are essential. One, utility need to be made more autonomous and more accountable for their performance. Second, they need to be placed on a sounder financial footing. The private sector may also be allowed to play its positive role. So, this was all about the water and sanitation. Third, we are having emissions for industry, transport and energy. The challenge for energy and industry will be to meet the projected growth in the demand while controlling pollution and deforestation. Unless sound policies are adopted, pollution from fossil fuels, generation of electric power will rise tenfold in the next 4 decades, from vehicles more than 5-fold, and from industrial emission, and waste is also more than 5 times as demand for industrial goods increases. So what should we do in this regard to eradicate all type of pollution? Reducing household energy pollution. Yes, we should. Household energy use, creating both indoor and outdoor air pollution, should be reduced by use of biomass, stoves and clean coals, and a transition to gas, electricity and solar energy. Second, reducing pollution from generation of electrical power. It is estimated that electric power generation accounts for 30% of all fossil fuel consumption and 50% of all consumption worldwide. Fine. Third, we are having in this regard to reduce pollution, reducing pollution from transport and industry. Since vehicles are responsible for 1/2 of oil consumption and cause more than 90% of lead and carbon monoxide emissions. Next, we are having encouraging use of renewable resources. Sustainable development emphasizes, the renewable resources also. Solar energy may have the best long-term prospectus, less dramatic but more significant. Progress has been made in the educating the cost of and utilizing biomass and wind power technologies. Okay, this was all about the pollution. Next, we are having rural environmental concerns. A biggest challenge facing rural people and policy makers that need to be addressed are preventing the resource degradation that can result from rapidly growing demands for food, fuel and fiber, preserving valuable natural forest, wetlands, coastal areas and grassland for future generations, as the world's population grows to 9 billion by 2030, consumption of food will more than double in developing countries even, thereby enormous pressure not only on agriculture and but also on stocks of water, fish and fuel. Fine, so this was all about today's topic. So students, with the completion of this topic, our chapter is also completed. We are going to wind up this session now. Thank you so much. Take care. God bless you.